So now, ladies and gentlemen, I promise you, this is going to be worth the wait here on SportsWire Radio. Live now on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. Yes, I have a LinkedIn page. Northeast Streaming Sports Channel, Twitter as well, and our flagship for the radio, only sportnarium.com/player. Because look at this gentleman here, ladies and gentlemen. Just look at the size of him. He could be a stunt double. He could be in a Vin Diesel movie, Jason Statham movie. He looks like maybe he'd be one of the guys that John Wick would be fighting in John Wick 4 coming up next year. But I promise you, this guy is the talk of the professional wrestling world here this past weekend, especially at Summertime Slaughterhouse. And he was involved in a couple of people we spoke about here on Friday's show who you might know about, but we're going to get into that here and much, much more. So without further ado here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show, one of the new giants in pro wrestling, and his name is my friend. I tried to give you a Goliath-like entrance.
Oh, indeed. Probably the best one I've had yet.
Well, how many have you had yet? But I mean, hopefully I'm the only one and the one that does it every time you come out there in the ring. But obviously, it is a tremendous honor. And I hope I'm going to keep my voice here over the next 45 minutes or so, because obviously we've had an impactful here last hour and a half on SportsWire Radio. But you, my friend, though, in the meantime, are the talk of professional wrestling. It's not that the Bloodline have gained all the belts. It's not anything going to a Double or Nothing next weekend where it's going to be the Young Bucks versus the Hardys. No, it's Goliath apparently answered an open challenge to somebody that we know who announced it Friday night here on SportsWire Radio. So set the tables, my friend, on what happened with you, because you actually made your debut, quote unquote, in nonstop action wrestling at the Summertime Slaughterhouse.
Oh, indeed. Summertime Slaughterhouse. What an amazing, amazing event. Our second event in front of a live audience. And what a show it was. You know, a lot of respect to the ladies and gentlemen in the audience who came out to watch the show, but also a lot of respect to my fellow co-workers and management. But yeah, let's talk about MC2. MC2, as he put out, he said that he was going to have a little open challenge. And so he showed up at Summertime Slaughterhouse. And being a man of his word, so I have to respect that, he did indeed set an open challenge. Now, initially, I did not answer the open challenge. One of the other up-and-coming stars in NASW, a man by the name of Dante Okara, a member of a faction called the Swarm with JPR and his tag team partner, Tyler Murphy. He decided to answer the open challenge. I didn't want to answer it straight away. I wanted to see if anybody else would step up. I wanted to get a look at MC2 and what he could do. So indeed, there was an answer. Quite pathetic, actually, because MC2 beat Dante Okara in 2 minutes, choking him out. But then MC2, he got a little above himself. He got a little overconfident with his dominant victory. And so he decided to run a second open challenge. He got on the microphone, talked, said really nothing, but opened up a second challenge, did his little count to 10. You know, I was actually surprised that he could count to 10. But yeah, so the second open challenge came and my music played. Management decided they'd had enough of MC2. They played my music. And so I took off my tie, walked down to the ring, and with inside 2 minutes, gave MC2 the beating of his life.
Wow. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, that's saying a lot because MC2, we had him on here and he took a beating last weekend prior at GTM's Judgment Day. So he definitely got a beating to say the least here. And we have some comments in here already. So we want to get to those. Supersonic Sammy Blue says, as someone who has a history with MC2 and the rest of the Academy of Agony, I applaud you for putting him in his place. And then we have somebody else that came back in here and says, Kyle Kennedy, like I put you in your place, Sammy. It's already unfolding here on Sports Wire Radio. That's why they call it nonstop action wrestling, because we're actually seeing wrestlers fight amongst each other on the stream. But certainly we'll get into some of that here. But I want to ask you, and Dustin Hart chimes in here and says, MC2 asked for more than he can handle and got it big time. Yeah, MC2 very much definitely did. And shout out to Dustin Hart, who was supposed to bring back on here. And Dustin, I'm going to have to message you about that because I need to make a scheduling change, but we'll get back to you on that after we're off the air. But going into this here, because it looks like you still literally are at the Summertime Slaughterhouse because you took your tie off. It looks like you might have the same attire from last weekend. I mean, but walk me through this, that you were waiting to see how it all unfolded. We've seen you go back and forth with MC2 over the past few weeks here on social media. I mean, was there ever a thought that said, you know what, I'm going to be that first person, or even conversely, I'm going to be the person that waits and lets somebody else take on MC2 in the Academy of Agony here? I mean, walk me through your thoughts here before you pulled the trigger.
Well, it's all about being a smart guy. You know, in professional wrestling, in order to win, you have to be smart. And as much as I know what MC2 is capable of, I wanted to see what level of competitor would step up to face him. I wanted to see if I didn't need to get in the ring, because I was quite happy standing there at Summertime Slaughterhouse, you know, doing my role as the security, making sure that everybody else, all the people there in attendance, had a great evening of entertainment. I wanted to see if someone else could shut his mouth and I wouldn't need to get my hands dirty. But no, Dante Okara quite pathetically stepped up and, well, was decimated in less than 2 minutes. So in terms of, did I ever want to go first? It's all about scouting your opponent, and MC2 played right into my hands because, and Dante Okara played right into my hands because I got to have a little look at MC2 before I faced off with him, and I got to see what he's capable of. MC2 is a very smart competitor, but I knew if I stepped in the ring with MC2, it would be more than too much to handle.
Well, certainly the Iron Maiden song 2 Minutes to Midnight comes to mind, because certainly Goliath gave MC2 the 2 minutes that he's certainly going to remember here till midnight. And for those that are watching and listening to this for the first time here on Sports Wire Radio, I want to ask you particularly, Goliath, because obviously you've seen what's going on here with the Academy of Agony with MC2 and Gung Ho Muttley, his protege, and we'll get to certainly Gung Ho for sure here in a few minutes. But what has made them such a group that you haven't agreed with how they've gone about things in nonstop action wrestling?
See, I am a man of the people. I am a self-proclaimed champion of the people. I deal in respect. I deal with stepping up and giving people somebody they can believe in, you know, giving them somebody they can look up to. Academy of Agony don't really do that. What you see with the educators on GTM is exactly what you get with Academy of Agony. They are the same people as they are at Fountains Church, except they have another member called Mad Ed. So
tell us about Mad Ed, because we know Gung Ho and MC2. Tell us about Mad Ed here on Sports Wire Radio about Mad Ed.
Mad Ed is a wacko. He's deranged. He has no sense of his own well-being. He has no sense of right or wrong. He just screams a lot.
Well, he's mad, right?
Yeah, exactly. He smacks himself on the head repeatedly. Um, he's a very strange person, and not really somebody that can be teached. So I find it very strange that MC2, being the teacher, and his star student Gung Ho Muttley would bring in someone like Mad Ed, who they seem to have control over
Well,
now.
they're
But
very methodical. From what we know about them in GTM and watching their matches, they tend to be very much into ring psychology, mind games, and to bring in someone like this, it seems like it doesn't fit into what we know about them.
it's very strange for the fact that Mad Ed is indeed a mad individual, and at any moment he could snap. So they might have control of him for now. But eventually something's got to give. Something in Mad Ed has got to change his trajectory of where he's going. And that may mean that he has enough of Academy of Agony in the end, because he has no common sense whatsoever. And out of nowhere, he could just attack them and they would be none the wiser, it seems, for as smart as they are.
Well, certainly here we're getting some more comments, and I like to read those off because people like to obviously get into the conversation. And you can do that here at Sportswire Radio on Facebook, at Tom Bryce, as we're speaking with pro wrestling star here, Goliath. And he's a big man, ladies and gentlemen. I would definitely not want to be on his do-do list, as they might want to say, being very polite here for our radio audience. This is a very, very big man. He looks like he could be in some movies. He could certainly be maybe John Wick's opponent in John Wick 4. But Supersonic Sammy Blue says Goliath definitely earned my respect at Summertime Slaughterhouse. We've also got here Young Horace says Academy won't last long. Don't worry. Also, we have here from Connor Calder, AOG, Academy of Agony is not to be underestimated. Let me go with that comment here first, because obviously we can get into the pros and cons of things and people that are cheering and booing. But there is a point here. Academy of Agony cannot be underestimated because MC2, we've spoke about him quite a bit. He's been on here a couple times. He's certainly very calculating. He's cold. He's ruthless. He's cunning. He's methodical. Gung Ho Muttley can go in the ring, and he's learning from MC2. And we've got Mad Head. Well, he's just mad. I mean, are you concerned that maybe Academy of Agony is not to be underestimated here from this point?
Oh, they're definitely not to be underestimated. I mean, come on, you said it yourself. They are very, and I've said it, they are very smart competitors. However, I just think with this open challenge, they bit off a little more than they could chew. But they'll learn from that. Oh, for sure, they'll learn from that. Do I think they'll put out another open challenge again? I can't quite see it happening, because if they put out another open challenge, or MC2 puts out another open challenge, although I said in my video that I have wiped my hands clean, what stops me, knowing that I can beat MC2, what stops me from answering that open challenge again and giving him round 2 of what he got at Summertime Slaughterhouse? So should they be underestimated? No. But do I know that I can beat MC2 now convincingly? Do I know that I can put him to sleep? And like you said, 2 minutes to midnight. It definitely was 2 minutes to midnight, because I put him out. He was done. He tapped out faster than I've ever seen anybody tap out. He knew what was up. He had to be escorted to the back by his star student, Gung Ho Muttley. So I know I can beat MC2. Should the Academy of Agony, though, be underestimated? Definitely not. They are a group. I am one man. I am fully aware that the numbers are not in my favor if I go to war with them. But is that going to stop Goliath? Hell no.
Oh, I could see that, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I can't stress it enough. Look at the size of this man. Seriously, he's just a giant. I mean, he's Goliath. I mean, literally, he's a Goliath. I mean, listen, I would pay a lot of pounds to see this guy in the ring here. He's definitely somebody like the rest of Nonstop Action Wrestling that you're going to definitely want to see. And I highly encourage that you also follow Nonstop Action Wrestling on Instagram at NSAW Official. That's NSAW Official. You can also follow Goliath on there, also Goliath PW on Instagram. Make sure you follow him. Something tells me here this guy is going to be a part of some really, really, really big things coming up here. And I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. But enough about me. Let's get to some more comments, because people they don't want to hear me speak. They want to hear themselves speak, and I can't blame them. So Kyle Kennedy says, respect, blah, blah, blah. This is professional wrestling, not a popularity contest, for crying out loud. Yeah, but to be fair, now I'm going to play devil's advocate. There is a point to what Kyle's saying, but for Goliath, in a sense, though, don't the fans dictate who they want to see? I mean, in a sense, could it be both? I mean, walk me through this comment from Kyle Kennedy before I get to Supersonic Sammy Blood.
Kyle Kennedy is one member of a very dominant faction known as the Society. They don't just wrestle in NSAW, they also wrestle in UKW, PPW.
We know UKW very well, obviously.
Yeah, PPW as well in Sheffield. You know, they are a dominant faction, but what I think about Kyle is the polar opposite of me. He is a big man himself, and I respect his ability. However, he doesn't respect anybody, and I feel that's going to be his downfall. You have to have respect in wrestling, and like you say, I think that's why, you know, the fans chanted my name.
Man, I mean, to be fair, I mean, he may feel that he is the law.
Yeah, but as I said, I feel because I respect people. Just because you respect people, let me get one thing straight. Just because you respect somebody doesn't mean that you like them. I respect Kyle Kennedy's ability in the ring. Do I like him? No. But it's that respect that I have as to why those fans chanted for me to put MC2 down at Summertime Slaughterhouse. So as far as Kyle goes, you know, you can run your mouth all you want. And you do that a lot. But, you know, Kyle, until you step into the ring with me, you know, you don't know what you're up against. So whereas I will sit there and watch everything you do, as I will sit there, and as I did from my post of security, as I watched the whole show, you know, after my match, I went straight back to security. I had a front row seat to all the action. So, Kyle, get that in your head, that I was watching you. I've seen what you're capable of. I know what you can do. You don't get a front row seat to me. You don't really know what I can do by the videos that are on the internet.
Oh, the last one I saw of you, and I've seen a few other ones also, I would definitely tread lightly, and certainly we'll find out if the Overlord, the Attack Dog, and the Lawman Kyle Kennedy will. And we've got some more comments in here, and Supersonic Sammy Blue chimes in, says Kyle Kennedy's saying that because nobody likes him and he's not friendly at all. And then Young Horace says UKW. I think he's referring to maybe where also some of the other people have wrestled that we just mentioned. Also, Supersonic Sammy Blue had mentioned prior. Can't forget about Erlen Fenrir. After tussling with him at Exordium, he's definitely is a tough competitor. He's also a Viking. How crazy is that? Well, I mean, I saw Mustafa Khan in the ring at GTM Judgment Day, and he's pretty big. I mean, so at this point, anything goes. And certainly Kyle Kennedy, the lawman, responds, says, oh, no, you don't like me? Oh, whatever shall I do? So basically, he's kind of throwing it back out you there.
Yeah, I have nothing to say to Kyle. You know, I've got my hands tied up with other things. Well, he plays third fiddle to the Society. I'm on my road to success. I am on my road to be the champion of the people, you know, and have the first NSAW championship when it comes out around my waist or over my shoulder. And be a champion that people can look up to and respect. So while you're playing with your little buddies, Kyle, I'll be, you know, reaching for the stars.
Well, I'll tell you what, the nonstop action wrestling stars very well could align here down the road. And certainly for Goliath, I'd have to say you probably want to put that championship over your shoulder, because I don't know how big the belt is. You're a very, very big man, and you'd have to be like the Big Show and just put the belt on your shoulder.
We'll adapt it if we need to.
Well, certainly, you know what? I'm sure somebody out there is listening from Nonstop Action Wrestling, and the powers that be there can certainly make sure that they adapt. And obviously, we're speaking here with Goliath. But I mean, I want to get to Gung Ho Muttley here, because Gung Ho Muttley certainly is somebody that we got a chance to hear from on Sportswire Radio on Friday. And he certainly is a big, I can't say He's a big man, but he's got a big mouth, is what I certainly can say. I can certainly see. We'll see if he can cash those checks that his mouth is certainly spitting out there. But I mean, certainly you and him had quite an interesting exchange there at the Summertime Slaughterhouse. And walk me through Gung Ho Muttley and what went down.
So after I made MC2 tap out and leave him laying there in the middle of the ring, not knowing where the hell he was, his little protege, the idiot that he is, decided to get in the ring and step face to face with me after seeing me decimate his teacher in less than 2 minutes. I don't know, as I said in my video, I don't know what's going through his head or what was happening at that point, but it clearly was not sound thinking. And for some reason, he decided to challenge me to a match. Now, that match will be at the next show. As and when, I don't know. The name of the show, no idea. As it could. But he has challenged me. And as I said in my video, I accept. I beat, victimized, and punished MC2. You know, and he was the teacher. He was meant to be the man with it all up here. You know, Gung Ho Muttley's the student. So if I can beat the teacher in less than 2 minutes, imagine what Goliath could do to a student.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm terrified. And I saw Gung Ho Muttley in the ring in GTM over the past few months. I've seen him, and I almost have to ask Gung Ho, are you sure you wanted to have made that challenge? Are you certainly sure that you wanted to do this? I know somewhere that you're watching and listening to this. Now, he certainly did say next time. I don't know what he means by that. I mean, I don't know if he has a trick up his sleeve, or before I get to Supersonic Sammy Blue's comment here, Goliath, maybe, just maybe, Gung Ho Muttley is counting on the numbers game, because the Academy of Agony do have the numbers game. Are you worried maybe that he's figuring out the numbers game?
I just want to say that Kyle Kennedy and Supersonic Sammy Blue are indeed members of NASW. So they're in here getting their 2 cents out, you know, making themselves known, and I applaud them for that. I asked them to come in here, and you know,
and we want them to come here anytime they want to speak about NASW. This is definitely a company that we want to talk about. This is definitely a company. Seeing the social medias here, seeing what the wrestlers here, what they're doing. This is definitely a company that I'm pumped up for. So this is going to be, to me, one of the premier wrestling companies in the world upcoming.
We sure hope so. But in terms, I'll get to your point, you know, in terms of the numbers game, I am well aware that, as Sammy corrected me on, there are 4 members of Academy of Agony. I am aware of MC2, Gung Ho Muttley, Erland Fenrir, and Madhead. I am well aware that in the worst case scenario, it's a 4-on-1. But I'm Goliath. So is that going to stop me from shutting Gung Ho Muttley's mouth? No. And you know what? If they somehow come up with this master plan and somehow Gung Ho Muttley gives me my first defeat, you know, he's going to get that. However, I will take a piece of him with me. Make no mistake about that.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm terrified. And Supersonic Sammy Blue says, thank you, Tom. It's an honor to have you talk about us. And Supersonic Sammy Blue here, definitely in the next few weeks, want to get you on, want to get everybody else here. And also, with the lawman, Kyle Kennedy says, well, Mr. Bryce, you want views, you want all the attention, you want the numbers, the lawman is your guy. Listen, as somebody who technically, I can't believe I'm saying this, but in New York City actually is responsible for some laws as a notary public, I'd definitely like to speak to a fellow lawman. So, Mr. Kennedy, we will definitely make that happen here in the next few weeks. So we will definitely have on the lawman, Kyle Kennedy. We're going to definitely be speaking a lot of nonstop action wrestling, because with a name like Nonstop Action Wrestling, How could you not want to talk about it? Think about it. Non-stop action wrestling. I mean, that was what TNA used to claim itself to be. So why not? Listen, this is going to be the new TNA. This is going to be the new Impact. So obviously,
No. We don't want to be the new TNA. We want to be the first non-stop action wrestling. Make no mistake about that.
Well, if we could get you in 1.5 million homes at one point, we'll take that.
We want to go further than that. That is obviously.
All right, I'll give you that much. But like I said, if you can get into it 1.5 million homes like they did at one point before they brought in Hogan and Hall and Nash, I would say take that. But obviously, Supersonic Sammy Blue also says here, this is to you, I think, Mr. Goliath. He says, if you ever need backup against the Academy, me and my fellow Guardians of Gallifrey would be happy to provide. So it seems like just maybe here, you heard it first on SportsWire Radio, maybe the numbers game, after all, may even out.
Maybe, but that remains to be seen. And I thank you, Sammy, for that. And very graciously, thank you very much for offering your services. But as you saw at Summertime Slaughterhouse, what I did to MC2, Gung Ho Motley is in for a rough night.
Oh, we're going to certainly find out here. We've also got more comments in here. And Young Horace says, Supersonic Sammy Blue, a step ahead of you, brother. So obviously that's from Young Horace.
Young Horace has got his own, grievances with the Academy of Agony, such as many people in NSAW, and I'm sure even more so at GTM with the educators. Wow. So they may have the numbers game, but a friend, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So maybe the numbers game don't even out maybe the way that they'd like them, but that remains to be seen.
We'll certainly find out. Something tells me here we're going to be speaking a lot about this here on SportsWire Radio, and certainly Mr. Kennedy says, Sammy, I beg you to stop trying to be friends with everyone. It's embarrassing. Grow up. Well, I mean, listen, obviously, that's obviously for them to figure out and decipher, certainly. But I want to ask you, Goliath, before we get into a few other things, for those that are watching, listening to this for the first time, tell everybody just how big you are. Just tell everybody, because the video does not do justice, just how big of a man you are.
6'1", 350 pounds.
Jesus Christ, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, as they would say. I don't know. Listen, I'm 6 foot, and I'm like 2 times less the size of Goliath. That's why they call him a Goliath here. I mean, you heard it first. 350 pounds. He has to be the biggest wrestler we've ever had here on SportsWire Radio history. He might be the biggest person, because now I'm thinking about it. All the athletes I've had on, they ain't 350. Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, look at the size of this man. Look at his face. I mean, are you sure you're not going to do like stunt doubling? Are you sure you're not going to branch into movies also once you dominate here in nonstop action wrestling?
No. Wrestling is my passion. And, without NSAW, I wouldn't be a pro wrestler. This was really my shot to get the door open, get my foot in the door. And I have... at least for now, I don't have any plans to go and do acting. But maybe, they say never, in the future, possibility.
You never know. Listen, you very well remind me of nonstop action wrestling's the notorious B.I.G. in terms of your size and just sheer dominance, no question, of the microphone. But Young Horace says he's 6'7". That's 2 measurements.
No, he's not.
He's not. That's 2 measurements. So I kind of figured that. Looking at the photo,
he's way less than 6 foot, bless him.
Well, I mean, certainly you and I might certainly be at least reasonably tall, but certainly maybe Young Horace isn't, but that's okay. We thank Young Horace for what he does. As much as respect I have for you, Horace, I have a feeling that isn't true, and certainly we have Tyler Murphy. His ego is that's why he loses all the time. So I guess that would be referring to I'm not quite sure who we're referring to here. If I want to get a comment.
I thought he was referring to me for a second, but I don't know what he's talking about because I won at Summertime Slaughterhouse. Maybe he's talking about MC2.
Well, MC2 certainly lost at the Tag Team Championship match at Judgment Day. He lost to Joel Cobra a few months back at GTM. Certainly he lost this past weekend to you. So MC2 is definitely on a losing streak here.
Tyler Murphy is, as I said, he's the He's on about young Horus. However, Tyler Murphy, as I said, he's the tag team partner, member of the Swarm. He's the tag team partner
Yes.
of the guy who came out and challenged MC2, Dante Okara. He is the tag team partner, and he had to carry Dante Okara to the back, his lifeless body, when MC2 put him to sleep.
Well, certainly we're getting some more comments in here because it seems like now it's a battle royale on SportsWire Radio, and an individual that might know somebody that might know MC2 says here, MC2 beat Dante Okara awfully easy though. So
Dante Okara, as I said.
So that's what he says here. This individual is correct. Certainly the MC2 beat Dante Okara awfully easy though.
Keep your eyes on that Ash Ashley guy. He's got a lot of ties to Gung Ho Muttley, and
I mean, I'm not going to certainly jeopardize anybody that may or may not be related to individuals, but obviously, certainly this individual does look like maybe he knows somebody that may look like Gung Ho Muttley, but obviously
he's definitely got ties to the Academy of Agony and the educators. So
well, he might be a fan. Listen, he might be a fan of the Academy of Agony. I know there is a couple of them out there, so obviously there are here. And young Horace goes back to Tyler Murphy, says, "Remember when I eliminated you from the Rumble?" So certainly, I gotta listen here on SportsWire. If people want to book themselves into matches, if people want to book themselves and they want to come on here and go face to face, by all means here. But I want to ask you something because obviously we might have a fan here related to certainly Mr. Gung Ho Muttley. Is there anything you might want to say directly so this individual can pass along to Gung Ho Muttley?
Tell him that he made a very big mistake at Summertime Slaughterhouse getting in my face.
Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, it sounds like here somebody might have the summertime blues here. So for whatever reason, I'm thinking about the Who, obviously, from England, and Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend and John Entwistle and Keith Moon, obviously playing that song. Could there very well be a summertime blues for Gung Ho Muttley? I'm not quite sure. We'll certainly find out because something tells me here Gung Ho is going to be in the house in the near and distant future. And Supersonic Sammy Blue says, I'm quite sure that Goliath will beat Gung Ho easily, though. Well, I mean, we'll find out, obviously. And
we'll definitely see.
Look, the Lawman Kyle Kennedy says he's a fan of the Academy of Agony, though. Apparently, the Lawman Kyle Kennedy's in business with the Academy of Agony.
I've already told you what Kyle says doesn't really matter to me all that much.
Okay, fair enough. We have to show the comments out that people do want them.
For sure.
And Tyler Murphy says, yeah, and kicking mine after the match. So that's here. And Supersonic Sammy Blue comes in here, says, even though it's summertime, it's awfully cold in the camp of the Academy. Ooh, ladies and gentlemen.
To touch on that, MC2, he got his win over Dante Okara. He demolished him. And he thought he would be walking out of Summertime Slaughterhouse with a win, and he thought he'd be celebrating with his cohorts. But then Goliath came along. They say it's always good to have a plan until you get punched in the mouth. And that happened at Summertime Slaughterhouse. So, you know what? Maybe it was a cold day after all for MC2.
It very well could be a cold day. We'll certainly find out here. And Tyler Murphy comes in here and says, Gung Ho is a dirty, backstabbing loser, jumping me in the ring when I stood up to MC2 for fermenting my tag team, decimating my tag team.
Oh yeah, I forgot that Gung Ho Muttley, he got in the ring before my challenge was even on. He got in the ring and he kicked Tyler Murphy's head off his shoulders. I forgot about that. Tyler Murphy got, he got in the ring and within 5 seconds he was flat out on his back. To be fair to Mr. Gung Ho Muttley, he has got a nasty kick, I tell you that.
It would definitely hurt. And listen, it could definitely see why it would do some damage. And we have more comments. Connor Calder says, you're one to talk, Tyler. So obviously the back and forth here we love. And speaking of all this back and forth here, Goliath, nonstop action wrestling, and we have a comment in here, a response, but I'll get to that in a second. But for those that are here and watching and listening to this to the first time, what does nonstop action wrestling mean to you?
What does non-stop action wrestling mean to me?
What does it mean to you? Yep.
Family, home, you know. I was like any other wrestling fan. I was absolutely enamored with professional wrestling. I looked up to, you know, all the greats. We're talking your Randy Savages, your Eddie Guerreros, your Stone Cold Steve Austins,
Mm.
and, you know, such like. And especially AJ Styles, you know, I have to get it out there. He's the best wrestler in the world, in my honest opinion. But that I've always loved wrestling, and NSAW, you know, were founded, and they gave me an opportunity to turn a hobby into something meaningful, something I could go on throughout my elder ages of life, you know, getting up there, you know, getting to my prime, as they would call it. They give me the opportunity to become, as people saw and will see when the video goes live, the beast that I am. So NSAW for me is home.
Well, for whatever reason, I'm thinking about the Judas Priest song famously called Hell is Home. And certainly for the Academy of Agony, that very well could be hell by the home of Goliath here. But I do have a comment in here from a fan, or I guess somebody that might know Mr. Gung Ho Muttley. So this response, I definitely would like to show up on the screen for your reading pleasure. If Gung Ho gives you one of those kicks, Goliath, reckon you can survive it?
Well, that remains to be seen. I mean, he damn near kicked Tyler Murphy's head off his shoulders. So I know for a fact that I have got to be smart in this match. You know, if Gungo Muttley gets an upper hand on me, and he could catch me with that kick at any point, and I could be lights out. I am well aware of that. But we'll see. You know, I believe I have a strong will. You know, and I will fight until I can't fight anymore. So Will's just eventually I will get, you know, a taste. I'm fully aware I will get a taste of that kick by Gung Ho Muttley, and we'll see whether it's enough to put me down or whether it's not enough at all. We'll find out. That's for sure.
I'll tell you what, I'm excited about the fact that we very well could find out in the near and distant future here because, listen, Gung Ho Muttley in his own right is establishing himself as an emerging superstar. Goliath is one of the premier big men around in all of wrestling. I mean, I saw some of his clips on Instagram, and I saw his most latest promo, which you can see on his Facebook page, Goliath Pro Wrestler. Do give him a follow here. I would be very, very terrified of this man. And if you like what you hear from us on Sportswire Radio, I highly encourage you give us a like on Facebook at Sportswire Radio. And also Tom Bryce at Facebook. If you want to friend request me, I'm also on Instagram at the Sports Report 2021. If you like all of our content, we are a 24-hour radio station. We are on sportnarium.com/player. I play music from yesterday, today. We also play wrestling talk, sports talk, you name it. We try to play it. Let's get to some more comments here for the next 20 or so minutes. Tyler Murphy says, hi, you're trying to talk now, Connor. How's your golden fill in the blanks? We'll let that, we're a family station, so we'll let the that in. And Mr. Kyle Kennedy, the lawman, says, all I see in these comments is a group of losers, unlike myself and my society brethren, who won actually at Summertime Slaughterhouse after I locked Mr. Blue in the prison gates and he passed out like the in over the head fool he's in. So I'll repeat it one more time. All I see in these comments is a group of losers, unlike myself and my society brethren, who won actually at Summertime Slaughterhouse after I locked Mr. Blue in the prison gates and he passed out like the in over his head fool that he is. Your response to that before I get to a fan-related response to Gung Ho Muttley?
You know, the society are doing their thing. I'm doing mine. Did they win in Summertime Slaughterhouse? As you find out, yes, they did. They went up against the Guardians of Gallifrey. At the moment, that doesn't really, conflict with me too much. There's two very different story arcs there. So, you know, it's two things going on in NSAW. You've got the society feuding with everyone. You've got me on my trajectory we haven't crossed yet, but I'm sure soon enough that me and Kyle Kennedy and the rest of the society will cross paths. But until then, let them have let the society have, and Kyle Kennedy, let him have his 5 seconds of fame.
We'll certainly find out there. And Supersonic Sammy Blue says, I fell asleep after hearing you and your society bicker amongst yourself. So, I mean, he's being playful with words, but a fan obviously related to or may know Mr. Gung Ho Muttley says no one has kicked out of that kick. And that's a good point. He made a great point right now. The Gung Ho Muttley's undefeated with that kick. He's undefeated.
It's a weapon for sure, but the saying is that nothing lasts forever. I mean, come on, the Undertaker streak that didn't last forever. Asuka's unbeaten streak that didn't last forever.
And Goldberg's undefeated streak didn't last. I mean, there are things that do happen. I mean, listen, Ryback's winning streak, for what that was worth, ended. Tatanka's undefeated streak. I mean,
Goldberg. In the end, things do come to an end, and maybe his unbeaten streak with that kick of his, maybe that comes to an end sooner than he thinks. But again,
let me ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to actually play devil's advocate here. Let's be objective for a second, and let's play the side of Gung Ho Muttley, because Gung Ho Muttley, if he gets into the ring with you here in the near and distant future, he's going to have a strategy to beat you. And very simple. What his game plan is going to be. And we'll speak to Gung Ho Muttley here in a few weeks. We're going to get his perspective on this for sure. Undoubtedly, we'll definitely get him on because we want to hear his side of things here, because we love talking nonstop action wrestling here. But in his mind, the longer he goes in the ring with you and you can't finish him in 3, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, he's going to feel confident that he's going to be able to outlast you because of his agility and his endurance. Is that something that you're concerned about, the longer you go in a ring with Gung Ho Muttley, that he's just going to be able to outlast you and get that kick in?
I'm definitely concerned about, obviously he's a much lighter athlete than I am, so for sure. And, that kick, he's, like he says, he's undefeated, so it's very dangerous. However, do I fear that? That's not really a question that I am, too scared of. I am not scared. I don't fear defeat, because in defeat, you're at the bottom, so you can always rise back up. So, I am not worried about whether he can outlast me. I am not worried too much about his kick. I can definitely respect it. But no, I am not worried about you. I'm not worried about Gung Ho Muttley. I'm not worried about the Academy of Agony, because, like they say, all things come to an end, and eventually someone is going to kick out of that kick. And Gung Ho Muttley, you just best be ready for that, because it very well could be at NSAW's next event, and it very well could be Goliath kicking out.
Let me ask you one follow-up question before I get to a couple of comments, because I do want to talk about this. And do you think that Gung Ho Muttley's also going to have an advantage in the fact that he saw what happened to MC2 with you? He's going to now know what to be in for. Sometimes we see this where a wrestler goes in with somebody and they get to scout things out. He got to saw what you're going to do. Are you concerned at all by that now? Maybe because he saw what MC2 went through, he's going to know now what to do?
I definitely hope that he goes into the match with that mindset, believing that he's seen everything of Goliath, because let me just remind you that I was in the ring with MC2 for less than 2 minutes. And you don't think that my arsenal is a lot bigger than short of 2 minutes? I mean, what did it take me to do with MC2? A shoulder block, I pounced him and sent him flying, and then I put him to sleep. Do you really think that that's all that the big man Goliath is capable of?
I don't. I definitely don't. Let me just say, I'm looking at you right now, and I'm sure you got 20,000 moves ahead.
I hope that Gung Ho Motley thinks he's figured me out, and I hope he goes into that match because he's going to get a hard smack of reality in the face when and if that happens. So we'll see. No, he hasn't seen enough to scout me, but I sure hope that he thinks he does.
I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I'm certainly curious and anxious about that. We've got some more comments. Certainly, the lawman Kyle Kennedy says 5 seconds of fame, boy. I have been on every nonstop action wrestling show to date, unlike you, Mr. Security. Tyler Murphy then comes in. You haven't defeated JPR. You think you could beat him. LOL. And then we've got another comment from, again, a supporter, I guess you could say, of Gung Ho Muttley's. This is a good one. Any dream opponents in nonstop action wrestling or beyond?
So I'll get to the JPR comment first. I know a little weakness for JPR, but I'm going to keep that to myself if you don't mind me. So
not at all. Listen, I realize that wrestlers, they watch these things. Other people watch these things. People use this for scouting. So I always tell people with the caveat, don't tip your hand. Don't tell us what you're going to do because, certainly JPR is going to watch that and say, well, you know what? Goliath just said this. That means now I know I'm ready for it.
Yeah, exactly. In terms of Mr. Ash Ashley's comment, any dream opponents, I haven't really thought so much beyond of NSAW because I see myself as a pillar of NSAW, and I want to be with NSAW through thick and thin. I will stay with the ship even if it starts to sink. I will be the captain on that ship that goes down with my ship. So, but there are people that I want to two-face. I want two-face in NSAW. Number one, well, he's now Gung Ho Muttley, and I'm going to get to him real soon. Number two, let's throw JPR in there. He's had a lot of victories, and he's a very smart competitor. But what happens when he stands across the ring from 6'1", 350-pound Goliath, who is visibly angry and wants to tear his head off? Again, we'll see. I have quite a few people that I will want to wrestle in the future. I'm not going to stand here and list them all because that would take hours, days, maybe.
And that would also discourage people from buying tickets to see a nonstop action wrestling show, especially if you're in the South Yorkshire area. So obviously, that's some good points. But I got a bunch of comments in here all of a sudden. I want to get to those here as we got another about 10 or 15 minutes here with Pro Wrestling Star here, Goliath.
I'm a popular man. What can I say?
People seem to like you. You're definitely, like I said, you could definitely be in some movies. You could definitely be in some stunt double work. But
it's the baby face.
Well, could be. Listen, certainly I'm not one to talk. But Champ Rogers says, who would win between a gorilla with an AK-47 and a bear with a chainsaw?
Okay, so Champ Rogers is one of the funniest guys I've ever met. Again, he's a wrestler with his NSAW. He has also been on GTM as well.
Yep.
He's been.
I got a GTM one for you coming up next, so don't worry.
He faced Tommy Dillon in Tommy Dillon's first Open Challenge in GTM. He's a funny guy, and so I do love this comment. I will answer this comment. I'm going to say probably a gorilla with an AK-47.
I would say the same thing, right? Because an AK-47 is certainly going to beat a chainsaw. I mean, with all due respect to a chainsaw, I would definitely, but I got a bunch of comments. But let me get to a special one here related to GTM because this is kind of an interesting one here. I guess maybe it is opening up the Pandora's box or the forbidden door, as we've spoken about here quite a bit on SportsWire Radio. So let me get to it from, obviously, our dear friend, Mr. Gareth Angel, and he says, some would call me a modern-day David. What do you say we bring you into GTM for a little test? Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, have we heard this here first on SportsWire Radio? Could we see a little test between the modern-day David, the former GTM world champion Gareth Angel, against the rising and up-and-coming, very large Goliath?
Oh, well, that is definitely a tantalizing prospect. I've heard a lot about Gareth Angel. I know that he's a tough competitor, but maybe this time we rewrite history, and maybe this time Goliath puts David down. So if that's a challenge, Mr. Angel, I accept.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, have you heard it here first? This was definitely not scripted. This was definitely not planned. Could we see here? Listen, forget about who Roman Reigns is going to wrestle next. Forget about the Young Bucks versus the Hardys. Forget about Ric Flair coming back to the ring. I don't know why. But Goliath versus Gareth Angel, I mean, that's worth 200 pounds alone at a show. I mean, you put that out there somewhere, somebody's got to hear that, whether it's NSAW management, GTM management, certainly Mr. Angel very well may know who that could be. I mean, that could be something in the near and distant future, and people are already fired up. Joshua Snow says Goliath versus Gareth Angel. Get it booked, GTM. Supersonic Sammy Blue is stunned. Damn, I mean, Champ Rogers says, love you, Goliath. Dad, I mean, there's a lot of people here that are all of a sudden fired up to hear very well. Could the forbidden door be open once again? Non-stop action wrestling's own Goliath. He is a very, 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 very big man against Gareth Angel. And the mood that Gareth Angel is in these days, oh boy. Oh, Nelly, it's going to be something here. I mean, now we see here, now he's getting too big for his boots. Obviously, that could be related toward Mr. Goliath. And then we've got more comments in here. Dylan Pickin, the only man in nonstop action wrestling that doesn't need a team, and he proves it every time he steps in the ring, unless a few wrestle in the chat. So that's from Dylan Pickin. We've got Supersonic Sammy Blue again. I know you're a mountain of a man and don't need the backup. However, do you think you'll team with anyone here in nonstop action wrestling or Braun? That's a good comment. What do you say?
At the current time, my goal is obvious. I want to be a champion of the people, and, you know, I want to work for that, and I want to do it by myself. So as much as that's a tantalizing prospect for the future, you know, the tag team titles are definitely something I want to achieve in my career. But for now, it's all about, you know, the top of the heap. It's all about winning the main championships, whether that be in NSAW or, as you heard from Gareth Angel, maybe it's the GTM World Heavyweight Championship. That remains to be seen, but for now, I want to, you know, I want to chase my dream of being World Heavyweight Champion, no matter where that be.
I tell you what, whether it's the GTM World Champion Jack Johnson, whether it's BTW, NSAW, something tells me here Goliath's going to get his hands on some golden. Gareth Angel has put it out there. He confirms that he'll be in touch with you. So, ladies and gentlemen, here, I mean, listen, summer's right around the corner, and I'm thinking about big matches here. And Gareth Angel also heard that comment. It certainly got him thinking here. I mean, and we've got more comments in here from Ty Harper. Goliath versus Angel. Honestly, don't know who I'd have to back. They're both amazing talents. Maybe an NSAW versus GTM show altogether. Now, this is a promotion in NSAW we can safely get behind. This is a company that we can certainly put our weight and support in. I'm definitely down for that. I'm definitely down about talking NSAW. And we definitely, as everybody knows, loves GTM here. And Goliath versus Angel, that could be it could literally be the biggest match figuratively and literally of the year. And if anybody saw what Bentley did in the ring at the show prior at GTM, imagine Goliath and Angel. I mean, listen, I'll put the pounds up right now on SportsWire Radio. We'll make this happen. We want to see Goliath and Gareth Angel. I'll even go further. I'd love to see Goliath and Gareth Angel on a stream here, live, anytime.
Well, you know, if Gareth Angel is up to that, then you're on, Mr. Tom.
I'll tell you what, we'll make it happen here. Listen, we'll definitely make it happen. It is up to Mr. Angel to respond, but certainly The forbidden door is open here on Sportswire Radio again. If you thought Friday's show was impactful, if you thought Friday's show was eventful, and you saw basically chaos descend, I mean, I would love to see certainly Mr. Angel and Mr. Goliath stream here live with us and speak about these things. And Joshua Snow says, I think NSAW management could talk to our friends over at GTM. That seems like maybe that could work here in the future. That would certainly be a good idea.
Mr. Joshua Snow, our very respected and nice man that runs NSAW's day-to-day, our CEO, our management, our head, I definitely hope that you can talk to Mr. Gareth Angel and, figure something out, because he laid down a challenge and Goliath doesn't back away.
And he's defending, and he said it here first also. He is an NSAW man. He is loyal to this company. He wants to stay with this company. He wants to build this company. And Mr. Angel has said, GTM, NSAW. What better way to defend nonstop action wrestling? And if you're a businessman like Mr. Angel, like potentially, obviously, the management, NSAW, like us here at Sportswire Radio, you know what's best for business, and what's best for business very well could be this proposal that we have here on Sportswire Radio. I mean, certainly the forbidden door here has been opened, continued, and Goliath versus Angel stipulation or a straight-up wrestling match. But we got to get them to confirm first. We got to get Mr. Angel and Mr. Goliath to figure out the date, the time, the place, the location.
If you don't mind, I will touch on that just very quickly.
Sure, absolutely. Floor is yours.
I love wrestling, and so I'm pretty sure Mr. Angel loves wrestling too. So if Mr. Angel, if you want to make that match official, I will be there. But I love wrestling, as I said. So, it's the first time possibly that Goliath and Gareth Angel step 1-1. So I can't see any other way better than just having a straight up slugfest, a straight up singles match, 1-on-1, no bells and whistles, just straight up wrestling.
Oh, boy. Ladies and gentlemen, could you have imagined these punches? Listen, if you were bored from Canelo's last fight, you weren't so happy even with Tyson Fury's last fight, could you imagine the punches between Gareth Angel and Goliath? I mean, listen, we'll never be the same afterwards. And apparently, Mr. Angel has responded here. He has definitely responded in kind. And he says, I've been itching for a fight. Judgment Day was just the start. We have something special planned for July, which we will announce on June the 11th. I think that nonstop action wrestling should be a part of. That's a mic drop for us here, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently, we're going to have an announcement on June 11th. Goliath, I would certainly be curious about that if I were you and everybody else at Nonstop Action Wrestling. Mr. Angel seems like he's going to do the honors for us.
Mr. Angel, if you want a fight, then Goliath will bring you a fight. So be ready.
I'll tell you what, as famously Method Man famously rapped, I bring the pain, I bring the pain, I bring the pain. It looks like Goliath and Gareth Angel are going to bring a lot of pain coming up this July here. It very well could be the possibility of GTM, and you can follow GTM also at GT Ministries UK on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, NSAW Official also on Instagram, Goliath PW also on Instagram, and Champ Rogers also chimes in here and says Goliath versus Angels, educators versus modern day mafia versus the society versus the working class militia, Champ Rogers versus alimony payments. It prints money, Mr. Manager. Hey, you know what? I'm all in for it. Listen, if that's the case, after June 11th, we could have a month planning of plans on Sportswire Radio for GTM versus NSAW action. I mean, listen, it sounds good. It rings off the tongue. I mean, I'm all ready to go here. And Joshua says here, let's get talking then. Sounds like we have business to conclude. It sounds like, ladies and gentlemen, we very well may have reopened the forbidden door once again on Sportswire Radio.
And just remember that it's right here on Sportswire Radio where you saw Gareth Angel, the man himself, the leader of GTM, step up and
He
challenge
challenged you
Goliath.
first. Excellent point. He challenged you first. You didn't challenge Mr. Angel. Mr. Angel, who's certainly occupied about everything that's going on in his company and his watch, with everything that's going on in terms of the situation where chaos has descended in GTM, to the fact that he came on here tonight completely unplanned, unannounced, to challenge this man. He was so impressed with what Goliath did to MC2. He was so impressed from what he wasn't even planning to wrestle. Can you imagine this? This could be, listen, you thought Hogan versus Andre was big. You thought Brock versus Roman was big. You thought Goldberg versus Nash was big. You list them all. It don't matter, because Gareth, Angel, and Goliath could be the biggest match we've ever seen in pro wrestling to date. And
But just remember, that's not all I was saying. Remember, you heard it live on Sportswire Radio. Nowhere else. You heard it here and here only. Gareth Angel, Goliath.
I'll tell you what, I'm already hyped. Connor Calder says, I've seen Rarebit versus Angel, and which we saw that obviously at BTW. So this should be just as crazy. Yeah, it'll be even more crazy. And Sharper Design says, I can be the special guest referee. Yeah, I mean, I guess if that's the possibility here. And who would give you the hardest fight in NSAW before I get to Mr. Angel's response?
Okay. Who would give me the hardest fight in NSAW? You know, I don't really like to pick people like that, because as I said, I respect the power, the ability, just the people in NSAW, the stars that we have, as top tier, top class athletes. So, but I can't say who would be my hardest fight, but I'll tell you currently in NSAW who I want to fight. And that's the man that stepped in my face at Summertime Slaughterhouse. Gung Ho Muttley. You, my boy, are next.
Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, Gung Ho Muttley, if you're out there, I know somebody's out there, a fan of yours, can certainly relay that information. And Mr. Angel responds, Andrew Jefferson, Bubba the Butcher Morris, Mustafa Khan, the UKW World Champion, Rarebit, the BTW World Champion, have all fell to the Divine Avenger. Your response?
Like I said to Mr. Gung Ho Muttley, I will say to you, Mr. Angel, everything comes to an end. And maybe this time I don't fall to the Divine Avenger. Maybe you tap out or pass out to the Challenger Deep.
Ladies and gentlemen, something tells me here we're going to be speaking a lot about this here over the coming weeks on Sportswire Radio. And something tells me here one day we could see Goliath and Mr. Angel face to face live before they very well possibly could square off in the ring. And this is also why June the 11th, you need to find out what that announcement is at the next wrestling church here for GTM. You can do that at GT Ministries UK. For more information, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, also Blue Glasses Girl page. You can also follow her also on all of her pages, which are the same: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. And Joshua Snow says, you're a very talented man, Mr. Angel, but Goliath could just be the man to take you down. I tell you what, I wouldn't want any part of Goliath right now. Look at this man's face. Look at this face, ladies and gentlemen. Look at right now just how he feels. Look at right now the fight. He reminds me again of somebody that you're in a movie and you're one of those guys trying to get to the final boss that you're going to get beat up for. I don't know what the outcome's going to be, but he looks like he's going to put you through a wall. He's going to throw you down the stairs. He's going to push you down a table. Who knows what he's going to do? You're going to definitely get some cuts. You're going to get some scars. You're going to get some wounds. He looks like one of those opponents I seen in a Jackie Chan movie. He looks like somebody that I would want no part of. This is why, listen, I can't wait for the possibility here of Mr. Angel and Mr. Goliath. Goliath PW on Instagram. You got to follow him also on Facebook. NSAW Official, also on Instagram. Go follow this company because this is a company that I can assure you we've got big things ahead of. But before I get closing thoughts here from you, Mr. Goliath, and obviously this has been a very big, a very large, a very impactful segment with you for your debut on SportsWire Radio. And I got a feeling we're going to have a lot more appearances here with you in the near and distant future.
Indeed. Oh, indeed. I sure hope so.
We are definitely going to have more and more things from you. But I want to give you this opportunity to say, what do you want to say to anybody right now in the NSAW locker room and also to anybody that's in the GTM locker room and especially Mr. Angel as your closing thoughts?
As it's been said, I am very new. Only making my professional wrestling debut at Summertime Slaughterhouse. So I can go back and watch footage of certain people in the NSAW locker room, in the GTM locker room, but there is not a great deal yet of Goliath. So if you want to step up and challenge me, I accept all challenges. But just remember, if you are more experienced than me, you may be more experienced than me. I have a lot of footage that I can go and watch and learn about you. So maybe it's not the best choice.
And for Mr. Angel and GTM, what would you like to say to them?
Mr. Angel, if what you said, if your challenge is to be taken at its word, if your challenge is legitimate, then I will be seeing you very, very soon.
Well, it sounds like here, for whatever reason, those words come from a John Wick movie where Mr. Wick would be being seen very, very soon here. So I'm very, very excited about this. And Dylan Pickens says, Goliath, legit the final boss. I need to do all the side missions before I fight. Yeah, he's definitely up there. I'm definitely thinking of a movie. And he's like, if he's not the final boss, he's like literally like just the one before.
Let's go there, yeah. This ain't a video game. This ain't a movie. There's no easy mode with Goliath. Understand that if you step in the ring and stand across from 6'1", 350 pounds of Goliath, you are in for one hell of a time.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would want no part of Goliath. And Mr. Angel has a comment before we get out of here. He says, and James Westney says, Goliath definitely has a bright future in wrestling. I think he said broad, but we're going to say bright future.
James Westney again, another up-and-coming top-tier star in NSAW. I thank you for the kind words.
Absolutely. And we certainly want to echo those kind words. And also, everybody go to Goliath's page, Instagram, Goliath PW, Facebook. Also, if you like us here, SportsWire Radio on Facebook at SportsWire Radio. Tom Bryce also on Facebook. If you'd like to give me a friend request, we'll definitely get you on here. Also, for all of the wrestlers that are on here, we'll definitely bring you on here in the next couple of weeks. And Mr. Angel says, it's not a case of if, brother, just a matter of when. Get ready. I'm going to take you to deep waters. Boy, I don't know.
No, the name of my chokehold, you say deep waters. The name of my chokehold is the Challenger Deep, and that is the deepest part of the ocean known to man. So you may take me to deep waters, but I may take you even deeper than you can survive.
Well, in the words of Sheryl Crow, it was the first cut that was the deepest. Very well. Could it be the first cut that's the deepest for Mr. Angel? Stay tuned. But something tells me here we're going to find out when that happens here. And Mr. Angel also says he's already been scouting you. So apparently, Mr. Angel, he knows. He knows. He definitely knows.
We'll see.
Well, we'll certainly see. In fact, it's so big and impactful what we just heard that I sneezed and I have snot all over my nose. That's how big this was. But is there anything else you'd like to plug and promote before we get out of here, my friend?
Well, let's plug this then. Gareth Angel versus Goliath. Let's get that out there. You know, this could be one of the biggest matches in professional wrestling history. So let's get that out there. And if you want to see top tier athletes, top tier stars, top class wrestlers, then look no further. The non-stop action wrestling. And as you said, you can follow non-stop action wrestling on Instagram at NSAW official. And if you want to follow me, Instagram, Goliath PW, Facebook, Goliath Professional Wrestler.
Ladies and gentlemen, there very well ain't no mountain high enough that Mr. Angel is certainly going to want to figure out if that's the mountain too high. And ain't no better big man in the UK scene right now than Goliath. Go get him. Dustin Hart. This match will be Rumble the Shores of the UK. Well, it very well could be. These are very much reasons why, again, you want to go to NSAW official, GT Ministries UK, Goliath PW, Goliath Pro Wrestler on Facebook, Instagram. My friend, this was certainly one of the most impactful debuts of anybody that we've ever had here on SportsWire Radio. I don't even know how we top this. We're going to certainly find out. Something tells me here the next time you come on could very well be Mr. Angel sitting right next to you in this ring.
The people wanted a main event. SportsWire Radio wanted a main event. Here I am, Goliath.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what more else to say other than we were here on the Sports Report, the #1 global sports show with pro wrestling star here and the premier big man just maybe around here and all of pro wrestling from NSAW. That's go! As I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager here of SportsWire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce, and I agree with Ty Harper. I am definitely not challenging Goliath. Well, I don't have a family, but Ty Harper does. But certainly we were here with Goliath, who made his presence felt at the Summertime Slaughterhouse for the NSAW's Nonstop Action Wrestling, where he disposed of MC2 in his open challenge in just under 2 minutes. We will see what the future brings for Goliath, as he will possibly very well be in the ring with GTM's Gareth Angel. We await to see when that will be. We await to see more of that here on GT Ministries UK, NSAW official on social media. I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager of SportsWire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce, Goliath PW on Instagram, Goliath Pro Wrestler on Facebook. If you like what you hear from us on SportsWire Radio, you can check us out anytime, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on sportnarium.com/player. If you're on SportsWire Radio and all of our video streams, thank you for watching and listening. We'll be back here later this week. And if you're on sportnarium.com/player, you're going to get some all new content here soon. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. Good night. We'll be back with you here soon with pro wrestling star Goliath.